How's it going, everyone? My name is Michael SK, and welcome back to Chaos Head Noah. Lots of crazy stuff has been going on, and as Takumi feels more alone than ever, more targeted than ever, Rimi has come to his side. Can we trust her? I don't know. I mean, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense of where she came from and how she's somehow established herself in the world here, but, well, she's here, and I guess for the moment, we kind of have to work with that. It's hard to really say what will happen next because, I mean, nothing has been really easy to explain so far. But we'll keep trekking along here, and well, let's see what happens here as we try to rely on her. When I told her about Shogun, the man in the wheelchair, she frowned a little. That was the thing I wanted to ask her about most. Now was the perfect chance to do it.
いたかな? 車椅子のおじいさんなんて。
She didn't sound very confident.
思い出して大切なことだ。
でも
She paused as if she was about to say something that was hard to say.
そもそもあの時渋谷の駅前が無人だったなんてことなかったよ。いつもと同じだった。
So she hadn't seen anything strange at all that night. I'd hoped she'd tell me she'd seen the same things I had. Rimi and I had seen different things. Which of us had seen what really happened? Was I just wrong? Was that empty Shibuya just a delusion of mine? But there was a problem then. That old man in the wheelchair in the empty Shibuya, Shogun. How could you explain him? If the empty Shibuya was just a delusion, then Shogun might be a delusion too.
駅前って人が多いでしょ。だから車椅子の人がいてもなかなか気がつかないだろうし。
Nah. But also, Takumi pretty much hit the nail on the head here. Yeah, only one person saw him, us, in a delusion. That whole empty Shibuya was a delusion. Absolutely had to be. I mean, there's no other explanation for it. And we're such a delusional character here, so for that character to pop up there, Shogun, in the wheelchair, only for us to see in our delusion, that's pretty much kind of combining Takumi and Shogun together as the same person. Different personalities? I have no idea.
要するに見てないってこと。ごめんね、役に立てなくて。
Shogun wasn't a delusion of mine, I was sure of that. I thought he might be at first, but my opinion had changed totally after I had seen the video of the group dive. The Shogun who had taken that video was real, that was proof he existed. But the empty Shibuya could have been a delusion maybe. Shibuya had been filled with people then. It had just looked empty to me, that was all. But what did that mean?
ねえ、それよりお願いがあるんだけど、いい?
She put her hands together as if pleading with me.
CD を買いに行きたいんだ。せっかくここまで来てからちょっと寄っていきたいんだけど、いいかな?
To be honest, I wanted to get back to the base as soon as possible. I'd only taken this longer route home because I thought Shogun and Yua might be trying to set an ambush for me. I didn't want to go shopping. But if I refused here, I might upset Rimi. She might even get mad and leave me here. And that would be bad. I needed her to stay with me. I didn't even think I could get back to the base on my own. In the end, I wasn't able to refuse. I followed behind her, fear increasing with each step I took. Hopefully, even Yua would be reluctant to attack me with this many people around. But I was more scared of the idea that Shogun and Yua could be lurking in the crowds than relieved by the thought of getting lost in them. Each time somebody came close to me, I felt myself screaming internally.
パトカーだ。
My body froze. I quickly hid behind Rimi. Oh, that's an interesting look. She was right. There were 2 police cars stopped in the street. 3 uniformed officers were standing next to them. The police were after me too. I hadn't actually done anything, but they were too stupid to understand that. What the fuck is this shouting? Were they looking for me, I wondered? But after a moment, I realized they weren't. They were staring at a crowd that was marching down the street. A protest, maybe? They were all carrying signs and waving flags, and they even had sashes and headbands. There was a little girl in the rows of protesters looking confused as she was pulled along by her parents. On her shirt, the words, "Whose eyes are those?" were written with a black magic marker. I bit my lip when I saw it.
何のデモだろうね。
The crowd was full of men and women, and the people were of all ages. As they marched, they would sometimes yell out slogans. Drive the demons out of Shibuya.
悪魔
Some of the signs said things like drive the demons out of Shibuya or protect Shibuya from terrorists. It was probably a protest over the NewGen murders. Protesting wasn't going to accomplish anything. If they had time to protest, they should just find and kill Shogun instead. Then I wouldn't have to feel so scared all the time.
タク、行こう。
Rimi looked away from the protesters, seemingly disinterested, and began to walk toward the CD shop. Best Sound Top 10. Once inside, she headed straight for the indie CD corner. Unlike the J-pop section, there weren't many people here. She stopped in front of the P shelf and began to look for a CD. But she quickly gave up. Phantasm, huh? An indie band whose name started with P. Could it be...
タクはファンタズムってバンドを知ってる？今話題になってるけど。
I should have guessed that was what she was after. Of course I knew about them. I'd gone to a concert and even owned a CD. I nodded and she chuckled.
私、そういう情報は結構疎くて、最近になって知ったんだ。それで、友達に借りようかと思ったんだけど、なかなか手に入らないらしくて、誰も持ってないんだよ。だから、CD 買うしかないかなって思って、ここ1週間ぐらいあちこち探してみたんだけど、どこも売り切れ中。次はいつ入るんだろう。
僕持ってる。
Rimi's eyes went wide.
持ってるって CD?
I nodded, and then Rimi... Uh-oh. What do we want to do here? You know, it's been a while since we've had a bad delusion. She put her hands on my shoulders. Her face was so close I almost flinched. The smell of her shampoo tickled my nostrils, and I could feel my face turning red.
ねえ、タク、取引しよう。
Trade.
その CD 貸してくれたら、見返りに私。
Her face was dead serious. I gulped. I'll what? Oh, don't go into the delusion now. Ah, great. Well, what could he come up with here?
叩き割ってあげる。
Oh, okay.
はい。
Snap it in half? Where did that come from? I thought Rimi wasn't the kind of girl to do something so Dokyun-like. Rimi ignored my confusion and continued talking.
その CD を持ってる人は呪われちゃうの。タク、知らなかったでしょ。私の調べた情報によるとね、ニュージェネの被害者はみんなその CD を買った人なの。フェスの予言は CD を買った人にだけ当てはまるフェスの呪いなの。
That's impossible.
ニュージェネ事件は全部フェスの仕業。急がないと。次に死ぬのはタクだよ。
Yeah, that was terrible.
おーい。
Suddenly, I came back to my senses. Rimi waved her hand in front of my face, looking confused.
どうしたの？急に意識がどこかに飛んじゃってたみたいだけど。
あ、いや、なんでも。
Oh, it was just a delusion that scared me.
その調子だと話聞いてなかったでしょ。じゃあもう一回言うけど。
Thank you.
私のお気に入り CD を貸すっていうので手を打ってくれないかな。
は？
ねえねえ、いいでしょ？お願いします。この通
Well, this is how it would actually happen in reality, right? I nodded and she gave a little cheer of joy. It was so funny that I couldn't help but laugh, despite the danger I was in. I mean, it is a pretty normal trade, to be honest. I managed to get back to the base safely. Of course, it was thanks to Rimi. I was grateful to her. I wish she hadn't refused me when I asked for a little time to clean up my room before she came in, though.
だって前に来た時に汚いっていうのはよーくわかったし、今さら片付けたって無駄だよ。かっこつけなくてもいいって、私とタクの中でしょ？ね？
Uh-huh. Were we too close for that? My memories of Rimi were completely gone, so I didn't really know. Sometimes I was surprised at how overly friendly Rimi seemed. It didn't really bother me, but it was clear that there was a difference in how we felt about personal space. Was she really serious when she said that she didn't care if I cleaned up my room? There were discarded food containers from the convenience store on the floor, and stacks of H-game boxes with XXX rated covers on the bed. That means titties, ass, and a lot of pussy. Either Rimi was really brave, or she didn't see me as any kind of potential threat at all. I wasn't sure how I felt about either option. Oh, excuse me, Rimi didn't seem to have noticed my discomfort at all, though. She sat down on the sofa and was staring at the lyrics booklet from the Phantasm CD. I sat down on my computer chair. At last, I could relax. Fear had worn me down today, but I didn't feel as tired as I thought I would, probably because Rimi was here with me.
さて、どうしよっか。
She shut the lyrics booklet and gave a big stretch as she smiled at me. What should we do? Well, don't ask me. Rimi hadn't come here to hang out. She hadn't come to borrow a CD either. I was glad she was staying here, but what exactly were we supposed to do? Did we have to do anything? If this was an H game, we'd go straight to an H scene, but... No, I shouldn't be thinking about stuff like that right now. Being alone in my room with a 3D girl was already a tense enough situation. If I started having delusions, I might end up saying something I regretted. Silence. Rimi was sitting there, staring at the manga on the floor and the H games on the bed. This was awkward. I felt like I should say something, but the only things I knew how to talk about were anime and video games. I couldn't imagine Rimi knew much about either of them. It was Rimi who'd offered to stay with me, and maybe she'd say something. If she was hoping for me to take the lead in the conversation, she was asking the wrong person. I really hated dealing with 3D girls. I appreciated her being with me, but the silent pressure was unbearable. Part of the problem was how dark this room was. It made the mood feel kind of erotic. I turned back to my PC, unable to bear the awkwardness anymore. There was something I had to look up. It was the idea I had had back at the school, the one that might give me a hint towards finding the D-sword. Is it possible to turn the thoughts in your head into a video? What Senna had told me before about VR technology and how humans run on electricity felt like it could be a pretty good starting point.
何してるの？
Rimi stood up and walked over to me. Should I explain? But how do you explain? It felt like it would be a big pain in the ass.
ねえねえ、何してるか教えてよ。
Since I didn't answer, Rimi started poking me in the back with her finger. I couldn't just ignore her, right?
君はその妄想が現実になるって信じられる。
I kept typing search keywords into the browser instead of looking back at her. If anything, I was looking at Seroton as I spoke.
妄想が現実に？無理でしょう。もしそれができたら、人はとっくに万能になってるよ。
Anything they wanted, huh? Well, that might be true. In your delusions, you could do anything no matter how unreal. If those delusions could become real, that would mean the unreal could become real too.
それがどうしたの？
それに近いシステムがアメリカで特許あるんだ。
へえ、冗談でしょ。
I wasn't looking at her, but I could sense her giving me a sigh of disbelief. I decided to show her the image of the patent that Shiho had found for me.
これは？
特許の証拠写真。
本当に？
She leaned forward and stared at the monitor. Her head was now right next to mine.
私英語って苦手。すごいね、タク。英語読めるなんて。
She was so close. I could even see the sparkle in her eyes that the monitor's light reflected off of them. My heart skipped a beat again.
ねえねえ、どういうことか教えてよ。
She seemed to have taken an interest. I tried my best not to think about how close she was, moving my head so that I could see both Serotan and the monitor at all times.
生まれながらに盲目の人でもビデオカメラみたいな映像機器を通すことでそこに映る景色が見えるようになるんだ。これ豆知識な。
ビデオカメラが目の代わりっていうこと？
そう VR 技術って言うんだよ。
へえ、もし本当だったらすごいな。
It is true. Senna said that they'd even succeeded in testing it.
でも機械を使って目が見えるようになるのと妄想が現実になるってどうつながるの？私頭悪いからよくわかんないや。
As I explained my theory to Rimi, I kept on typing keywords into the search engine, but nothing was coming up. I kept going anyway.
映像機器に映る景色も脳内で思い浮かべた妄想も電気信号だから。逆に考えるんだ。脳内に電気信号を送るんじゃなくて脳内から電気信号を送るって考えるんだ。
ほほう。
Her responses were dull, almost blank. Maybe she didn't understand at all. I was tired of explaining things to her, so I just stopped talking, and I focused on my research. I didn't really need her to understand anyway. It was just an idea I'd come up with. Rimi was still nodding and murmuring even though I'd stopped talking. I decided to just ignore her. But no matter how much I searched, I couldn't find anything to back up my theory. I decided to change my approach and look at patents instead of just web pages. I went to the English site that Shio had told me about that had a list of patents. I would look and see if anything there could give me any hints. Well, this looks interesting. Space Satellite Humanity Electrical Wave Tower is back and forth between humanity. Data Processing Station, or whatever that says, and Pest Ponder? Okay. Interesting. I don't know if the spelling on those are correct, and I also can't properly see it. But with the press of a button... yeah, you know what? I don't know. I don't even know. After following a bunch of links, I finally found something similar to what Shion had shown me before. It was a different patent document than the one for the VR device. I decided to read it immediately.
神経信号パルスを遠隔地からモニターし、それを映像および音声として再現する装置と方法。
おお。
It was just what I thought of. I leaned forward out of my chair.
これすごいぞ。
すごいの？何が？
簡単に言うとこれ他人の思考を盗撮する技術だ。
思考を盗撮。
In other words, you could use a special device to take a look at the images and sounds inside of a person's head. And it even said you can monitor these nerve impulses from satellites. With this, you could read the mind of anybody on Earth.
本当にそんなことできるの？ SF 小説とかそういう類なものなんじゃ？
Haha, well,
特許ってそのシステム自体が完全に仕上がってないと絶対に取得できないんだって。
And that's what I'd read when I looked up patents online.
だからこれもちゃんとシステムが確立されてるってことだよ。
This wasn't fiction. If you had the money and technological prowess to make the system, you could do it at any time you wanted. I remember what Senna had said.
ある意図的な情報を神経パルスへコンバートすることが可能なら、人の五感すべて、さらには人の意志そのものもコントロールできるんじゃないか。
I hadn't found any source to confirm or deny that, so it was just a guess. But the theory I'd come up with had a source. Why wasn't this incredible news anywhere to be found in Japan? I felt like you could win a Nobel Prize for it easily. I decided to search for things involving mind reading. What I found was a record of an American court proceeding.
また英文だ。頭痛くなってきそうだよ。
It was pretty long, so I didn't feel like trying to read it all. I decided to use translation software on it, even if it meant I might end up with something a little off. The basic idea was something like this. Legal proceedings. Plaintiff N.K. Rabin and defendant United States Department of Defense Central Intelligence Agency, Plaintiff's claims. My thoughts are being scanned by a special device recorded and sent somewhere via satellite. I am a hostage to the satellites. I am exposed to attack by multiple satellites night and day. 1. Tracking. 2. Mind reading. 3. Observation of my entire body. 4. Biofrequency attacks. 5. Audio attacks. And 6. Inducement of physical weakness. Beginning in late December 1990, I have been shown artificially created dreams including audio, visual, and voice content during my sleep. Between the months of February and May 1992, I was a victim of biofrequency attacks, pain, torture, and harassment. I recognized that these were attacks upon my person, and beginning in February 1992, I began to record the following in my notes: time, date, contents of particularly painful psychological attacks. And these biofrequency attacks were performed upon every part of my body. The pain, torture, and harassment were finely tuned so that they would cause unpleasurable sensations, exhaustion, and pain to parts, and sometimes all of my body. The major parts of my body that were affected are as follows: chest, vision, abdomen, brain to cause sleep disorders, brain to cause me to have artificial dreams.
思考監視、思考盗撮、しかも国家ぐるみ。マジ?
Well, you guys know like the people that put like the tinfoil on their heads, right? It's kind of sounding like that.
あ、私これ知ってる。何年か前に映画で見た。
That was just fiction, wasn't it? But these court proceedings were real. There were two possibilities: the plaintiff was just crazy, or it was all real. It was hard to tell which was true. After seeing the patent, it was probably real, but still. But Senna and Ayase weren't crazy, especially Ayase. You know, despite her seeming crazy. Down in that tunnel, I'd seen her split into two. I hadn't seen the moment it had happened, but when I turned around, there was another Ayase. And I'd seen her pull the D-sword out from nowhere too. That wasn't a hallucination or a delusion. After seeing that, I couldn't call her crazy. But there was also what she'd said. So that strange thing I'd witnessed had happened because I'd seen it in my delusions? Was that what Ayase had meant by power? The power to project delusions into reality. And it was possible that I had it. Oh, here we go. Let's have a good delusion this time. No. I was just jumping to conclusions. Maybe there was a system that could use science to turn delusions into video footage. but that didn't mean psychic powers were real.
見つけなくちゃいけない。自分自身で。方法なんて私にもわからない。
But if maybe the way to get a D sword involves some kind of psychic power. And if I had that power, it might be worth trying. Oh, here we go. Nope, no delusion. I got up, leaving Rimi behind as she stared at the computer screen, murmuring to herself. I went and picked up the toy D-sword in the corner of my room. I stood in the middle of the room and held it out in front of me, in the best approximation of an ESO character that I could do, and I closed my eyes. In my mind, I envisioned a sword. Of course, the one I had in my mind was beautiful, terrible, and impossibly sharp, like the ones ISA and Senna had. I was good at having delusions. After all, I had all kinds of delusions all the time. If I wanted to, I could visualize them down to the slightest detail. When the image seemed firm in my mind, I gripped my teeth and clutched the sword tight with both hands. Become real, become real, become real, become real. Times 8. Focus. Think of nothing else. What you're holding now is a real D-sword, not a toy. Real. My whole body tensed up. Now show yourself to me. Bring me salvation. Protect me. I opened my eyes. The sword in my hands hadn't changed at all. It was still a cheap toy.
そりゃそうだよな。
There was no such thing as the power to make delusions real. I was old enough to know that. I started to feel embarrassed that I'd ever believed it. I sighed and put the sword down. And then I felt a gaze from behind. I felt a prickling on my neck that made my hair stand on end. That gaze again. I could sense it clearly. I was being watched. Don't look at me. I'm not turning around. I refuse to turn around. Huh? This time I didn't just sense a presence. I heard a voice. Or maybe it was more like a sigh than a voice. Don't tell me, had I just made a big mistake? I very quietly turned around. Rimi was staring at me. Oh, so that was it. No wonder I felt so much stronger than usual. I didn't just feel like somebody was watching me, someone was actually watching me. Don't confuse me like that. Wait, did that mean that she'd also been striking a pose with my ridiculous toy sword in the middle of the room? Or that she'd seen that? That was pretty embarrassing. But something seemed wrong. She was staring hard, intense and unblinking. But what she was staring at wasn't me. It was the toy D-sword. Why did she look so serious? She looked like a totally different person than she had a moment ago, when she'd been so confused by the pattern. Oh, Jesus. Awful memories came racing through my mind. I didn't like that game. Don't do that. Rimi was on my side. She was on my side, right? But I didn't know everything about her. Did she know about the D-sword too? I gulped and slowly, timidly, called out to her.
タク。
Rimi's gaze was locked on the toy weapon as she spoke. Her voice was flat and devoid of emotion.
その件だけど。
Rimi was on my side, right? She wouldn't betray me like Yuo, right? If Rimi betrayed me too, what would I do?
捨てた方がいいと思う。
どうして
My voice cracked. Did Rimi know something about it?
だって
Rimi finally turned her gaze toward me. I looked away as quick as I could. Because what?
だってもう高校生だし。
Well, so much for that. Rimi suddenly grinned, and she smiled at me mischievously. The sudden change knocked all the tension out of my body.
そりゃ男の子っていくつになってもそういうおもちゃが大好きなんだなってのはなんとなくわかるけど、さすがにそんな大きなおもちゃ一人で部屋で振り回してるのはどうかと思うよ。 それが許されるのは小学生までじゃない？でもタクの個人的な趣味を私の前で披露してくれたってのはちょっと嬉しいかも。私にだけ秘密を教えてくれたみたいで。
あ、
What? I felt silly for being scared.
そもそもそれどこで買ってきたの？高かったんじゃない？
1万円、渋谷の雑貨屋で。
へえ、1万円か。安いのか高いのかわからないけどでもそんな大きなおもちゃが普通に売ってるんだね。私そんな大きなのを直接見たのって初めて。その雑貨屋さんに売ってるっていうのは誰かに教えてもらったの？
Oh, some random ass stranger on the internet, you know. She was really interested in this. Was she interested in swords like these? Maybe she was secretly an otaku herself. She kind of made fun of me while I was holding it, but maybe she actually wanted one of her own. Wow, that's totally soon today, lol.
自分で調べた。ネットで。
ネットか。すごいな。何でも情報が手に入るんだね。私は全然ダメ。パソコンなんてろくに使えないよ。で、その件って流行ってるの？
なんで？
タクはどうしてそれを買おうと思ったのかなって。
Should I tell her the truth? If she was going to stay with me, she might end up looking for the real D-sword with me too. Maybe I should tell her.
これは偽物だけど、本物があるんだ。
本物？
Rimi seemed a little confused.
本物を持ってる人を僕知ってるんだ。2人いる。同じ学校の女子。
女子ね。女の子がこんなおもちゃを欲しがるかな？
本当なんだ。それにおもちゃじゃない。
あ、ごめん。
本物は光るんだ。それにすごい存在感で。僕それを探してる。それさえ手に入れれば僕は救われるんだ。
救われるって。
Rimi looked surprised by what I was saying, but I was totally serious. Having a D-sword would give me a way to fight back against Shogun.
それで
I want you to help me find it is what I wanted to say. But the thought of her saying no made me so scared that I couldn't ask. I threw the fake sword down on the ground and sat on the sofa. Then I sighed and closed my eyes. Maybe Rimi would volunteer to help me find it? That'd make things so much easier. Maybe that was too much to hope for. But Rimi had appeared out of nowhere to help me before when I needed her most. So maybe.
とにかく、もし本物があったとしても、それこそ買ったりしちゃダメだよ。今タクが持ってるのはおもちゃだからいいけど、本物ってことは銃刀法違反になっちゃうんだから。
My hopes were mercilessly dashed. Sob. Rimi, I'm disappointed in you. Well, her reaction was the one most people would have. The only reason I felt differently was because after all the weird things that had happened over the past few weeks, I believe that Senna and Ayase said, I just have to find the D-sword myself.
それでタク、
I could feel Rimi sitting down beside me.
その本物の剣を持ってる女子って誰かな？
Her voice was coming right next to me. She was sitting right beside me. We were alone in a dark room, just the two of us, and she was sitting right next to me. Oh, be careful now. Emergency, we have an emergency here.
タクに女子の知り合いが私以外にいたなんてちょっとびっくり。もしかして彼女？
Sorry, I'm getting a drink. Did she have to ask that? Was she trying to tempt me, maybe? Why was she talking about girlfriends? Was she maybe going to tell me that she wanted to be my girlfriend? And then there'd be a romantic mood between us. And then, No, I wasn't ready for that. Not yet, at least. I opened my eyes and shook my head. Both Ayase and Senna were very mysterious. Also a little crazy, probably. If they were 2D girls, or 2D characters, same shit, they'd be really moe, but not in 3D. Especially Senna. Just talking to her terrified me. She felt like she could beat me up at any moment. I didn't want to get involved with her at all if I could avoid it.
そっか。ちょっと安心したかな。
Oh, here we go. Delusion time for real this time? What did she just say? Oh crap, my whole body froze. This was leading where I thought it was, right? She meant what I thought she meant, right? She was trying to get me to say something here, right? What was I supposed to say? Okay, good delusion time, come on. Was I supposed to give her the answer she wanted to hear? I mean, I like the idea, but I didn't know if I was up for dating a 3D girl. Yeah, see, that's the big thing. That's kind of the roadblock, if you will. God damn it. I glanced over at Rimi, unsure of what to say. Nope. Okay, maybe we are in a delusion. Just maybe. Maybe a little bit. Hey, wait, what? My mind had totally gone blank. I was having trouble keeping up with this incredible turn of events. I couldn't even move a finger. I was too shocked to even speak.
どうかした？
She'd taken off the jacket of her uniform, I realized, and that wasn't all. She'd taken off her skirt too. And the way she was sitting, it looked like she wasn't wearing any panties. That meant Rimi was sitting next to me, wearing nothing but a shirt and bra. The first thing I thought of was a famous H game about a private tutor. It was called Miss Emily Can't Strip, and what I was experiencing right now was right out of its third chapter. An H game had come to life, and right here in my room. Was this a delusion, a hallucination, or was it real? Oh, so we zoom in. Thanks, game. Thank you. Whether it was real or a delusion, Rimi was definitely sitting in front of me almost naked. I found myself staring at her chest. With her unbuttoned shirt, I could get occasional glimpses of it. Her light pink bra. Your chest is bigger than I thought it was, Miss Sakihata. Wait, no. If you stare, she'll think you're a pervert. Don't look at her. I let my gaze fall to the ground. Yeah, it's really going to the ground, ain't it? Wait, now I'm looking at her legs. She's not wearing a skirt. I can see your panties, Miss Sakihata. They're a very simple design, but very cute. Crap, my little man was starting to boot up. I could smell a sweet scent coming from Rimi's body, and her skin felt real in a way that figures in 2D never did. So this was the power of 3D. It was just too sexy to handle, to be honest. All of my deeply held values were in danger of being wiped out. I told myself I wasn't into 3D girls, that I only loved 2D girls. But Rimi's body had a destructive power about it that threatened to eradicate those beliefs. I could hear her breathing like she was a little excited. The fine strands of her hair gently waved as she breathed. Her chest moved up and down with each breath. The sexy way she was rubbing her thighs together, her dewy eyes, her pink tongue peeking out from her half-open lips. It hurt to breathe. My mind was blanking. What was this? I felt like that kind of strange itchy feeling you get when a sex scene starts in an H game. No, that's just regret and pain, to be honest, for me. My mind began to race.
ねえ、タク。
She called to me in a sweet voice. I couldn't take my eyes off her body. I'd never seen a girl my age's body this close. That is a weirdly structured sentence. I don't know that. I'd never seen a girl my age's body this close. I get what it's saying, but I don't like its structure. Was Rimi coming on to me? Did she like me? To be honest, I didn't want to be tempted in such a lewd way. Ideally, I wanted to start off with a platonic friendship, and then we'd slowly fall in love with each other until she worked up the courage to say that she liked me beneath the legendary tree on graduation day, of course. I'd say okay, and then she'd start crying tears of joy, and then we'd kiss. At least that is what I used to think. Come on, game. Come on, translators. We got this. But after experiencing the scene unfolding in front of me, platonic friendship could go screw itself.
私喉乾いてきちゃった。何か飲み物ある？
I stood up, unable to bear the tension between us. Drinks. Maybe in the fridge? I had a thing of soda, but I'd already drank out of it. Giving it to her would be weird.
ないなら買ってこようかな。コンビニって深センの駅前にあったよね。
I could sense Rimi standing up behind me.
ちょっと行ってくる。
You'll be right back. I turned around in a panic, just in time to see Rimi, still in her underwear, heading out the door. She was going to the store with her panties showing. That's crazy. Was Rimi an exhibitionist? Oh, there goes the delusion.
露出狂？
I leapt up and literally fell back in shock. Rimi was right there. She hadn't left at all. She was wearing all of her clothes too. She was looking down at me with wide eyes.
びっくりした。急に大声出さないでよ。さっきから変だよ。一人でブツブツ言い出したかと思ったら急に大声上げるし。どうかしたの？
What was Rimi doing here? I'd seen her leave. Was the sexy Rimi I'd just seen a delusion? The sexy Rimi had felt so real. I hadn't touched her, but I could tell from looking at her how soft her skin was. Wait, what was I saying? There was something wrong with me today. Not just today, buddy. My whole body froze when she spoke. Had I disgusted her? What if she didn't want anything to do with me anymore? Without her around, I couldn't even leave the house by myself.
私、喉乾いてきちゃった。何か飲み物ある？
She asked the exact same thing as before. But while she sounded so sexy a moment ago, this time she sounded completely normal. I shook my head slightly. Rimi put a finger to her temple and pursed her lips for a moment in thought.
ないなら買ってこようかな。コンビニって深センの駅前にあったよね。ちょっと行ってくる。
Interesting. She smiled and left the room without waiting for my answer. All I could do was stare at her as she went. She was going to the store in her uniform. It was completely normal. The sexy Rimi had just been a hallucination after all. Of course it was. I felt a little relieved, but a little disappointed. But the sexy Rimi, the second Ayase, what was it that had made these delusions feel so real? Was I the one who'd done it even? Did I have that power or not? If so, how could I use it? How could I get a D-sword? There were so many problems facing me that I didn't even know where to start. Well, I think we're actually on the right track, to be totally honest with you guys. Because, well, think about it. One, we had a really, really deep-ass delusion that felt real. Okay? And from that delusion, we predicted an event, like, that was about to happen. So we kind of saw the future, if you will. Interesting stuff there. That is something that we've heard about before regarding Takumi. Curious. Gonna have to keep an eye on our boy here. But thank you all for watching this episode. We'll wrap it up here. If you enjoyed, be sure to leave a like, subscribe for more, and I will see you all in the next episode. Take it easy.